10 UK places facing challenges their founders never saw coming. When towns and villages were founded across the United Kingdom, their builders had visions of safety, prosperity, and permanence. They carved out harbours, cobbled streets, and market squares with dreams of growth. Yet centuries later, some of these places are confronting challenges their founders could never have predicted, from climate change and eroding coasts to economic downturns and cultural upheaval. Here's a journey through 10 UK places facing challenges their founders never saw coming, each one telling a story of resilience in the face of unexpected twists. 10. Fairbourne, Wales. A village facing the sea's advance. Nestled on the west coast of Wales, Fairbourne was built as a peaceful seaside retreat in the 19th century. Victorian planners saw it as a charming holiday spot, a place where families could escape the smoke of industrial towns and breathe in sea air. What they never anticipated was the slow, relentless creep of climate change. By the mid-2000s, scientific studies showed that rising sea levels posed a direct threat to Fairbourne's existence. In 2014, Gwynedd Council declared that defending the village from the sea beyond 2052 would no longer be viable. That meant Fairbourne could become the first UK community officially abandoned due to climate change. For residents, this pronouncement was earth-shattering. Property values plummeted overnight, and many questioned whether they'd one day be forced to leave the homes their families had cherished for generations. The founders, who once sold Fairbourne as a coastal paradise, never imagined the sea itself would someday be the village's undoing. 9. Holderness Coast, Yorkshire. Villages sliding into the sea. Stretching along the east riding of Yorkshire, the Holderness Coast is infamous for being one of Europe's fastest eroding shorelines. When medieval farmers and fishermen settled here, they built villages with little idea that the land beneath them would vanish at a shocking pace. Today, erosion eats away about 2 metres of coastline each year. Entire villages such as Ravenswood and Auburn have disappeared beneath the waves since the Middle Ages. Modern hamlets like Skipsea and Barmston continue to battle the loss of farmland, homes, and roads. In Skipsea alone, families have watched their gardens vanish within months. The irony? This stretch of coastline once promised fertile land and lucrative trade access. The founders who built along the Holderness shore likely saw opportunity, not the devastating collapse of cliffs into the North Sea. For present-day residents, the challenge isn't just nature's appetite, it's how to protect community identity when the ground itself won't stay put. 8. Wennington, London. A village engulfed by fire. Wennington in East London seems an unlikely candidate for a disaster zone. It's a quiet village, surrounded by greenery, with roots going back centuries. Its founders may have worried about floods from the River Thames, but wildfires? That would have sounded unthinkable. Yet in July 2022, as temperatures soared past 40 degrees Celsius during the UK's hottest summer on record, Wennington became front-page news. A blaze, sparked by dried grass, swept through the village and destroyed 18 homes. Families scrambled to safety as their neighbourhood turned into an inferno, an event almost unimaginable for Britain. This wildfire showed how climate change is rewriting the script. The founders of Wennington could never have guessed that their village would one day face hazards more typical of Australia or California. Now, resilience and adaptation are part of daily conversations as locals rethink how to protect their homes in an era of extreme heat. 7. UK High Streets. The struggle for survival. When 19th and 20th century town planners designed British high streets, they envisioned bustling avenues filled with grocers, butchers, department stores, and theatres. These streets were meant to be the beating heart of community life. What they could not have foreseen is the collapse of the traditional retail model. In 2024 alone, an average of 37 shops closed every single day across the UK, totalling nearly 13,500 closures, a 28% rise from the year before. The culprits are clear: soaring costs, shifting consumer behaviour, and online giants outcompeting local traders. In towns from Hartlepool to Hastings, boarded-up windows now line once vibrant thoroughfares. For the founders who laid out high streets as proud showcases of civic pride, the decline would feel like betrayal. Yet, in the ashes of this retail shake-up, some towns are reimagining these streets with cafes, art spaces, and housing. The challenge is to balance nostalgia with new life. 6. Slough, Berkshire, the vanishing pubs. Slough's history is bound up with the Industrial Revolution and the Great Western Railway. Its founders saw opportunity, a town that would grow with commerce, factories, and workers' lives centred on bustling social hubs. For centuries, that included the pub, a cornerstone of community life. But in just 2 years, Slough lost nearly half its pubs, from 25 in 2021 to just 13 by 2025. Rising costs, taxation, and shifting cultural habits have hit hard. Pubs that once echoed with laughter and song now stand shuttered, leaving communities without their traditional meeting spaces. The founders could never have foreseen a Britain where the pub culture they built towns around would collapse. Today, campaigns try to revive local venues, but it's an uphill battle. Slough's story is part of a wider trend across the UK. Community hubs vanishing, leaving people wondering where to gather once the lights go out. 5. The nightlife crisis. Cities in the dark. Beyond individual towns, the UK's urban centres are also facing an unexpected cultural shift: the collapse of nightlife. Since 2020, almost 800 late-night venues have closed, marking a 26% decline. London, Manchester, and Newcastle, all built as hubs of commerce and social exchange, now confront nighttime deserts. Founders of these cities built them with visions of trade, industry, and culture. Nightlife became an organic extension of that, pulsing through music, dance, and creativity. Few could have imagined that rising costs, changing habits, and pandemic aftershocks would silence dance floors and shutter beloved venues. For young people and musicians, the closures sting. The cultural lifeblood that once drew people to cities is thinning. While the founders couldn't predict such challenges, today's councils and communities must grapple with how to keep urban centres vibrant after dark. 4. Wales, the hidden threat of contaminated land. Across Wales, communities are confronting a quieter but equally serious problem: contaminated land. Its founders, miners, quarry operators, and industrialists saw economic opportunity in digging deep into the earth. They never thought about what toxic legacies might linger centuries later. Today, there are an estimated 45,000 potentially contaminated sites in Wales. Quarries, landfills, and old industrial plots conceal risks from heavy metals to toxic waste. Only 82 sites have been formally assessed, leaving communities living with uncertainty about the health and environmental dangers beneath their feet. For villages like Innisday, where land once offered jobs and prosperity, the discovery of hidden toxins is a shock. The founders envisioned wealth, not poisoned ground. It's a reminder that short-term industrial gains can leave long shadows, ones their creators never thought they'd cast. 3. Urban heat stress. Cities under the sun. Britain was once defined by its mild, often damp climate. Founders of towns and cities could build with stone, slate, and brick, confident they'd withstand drizzle and frost. What they never considered was scorching heat waves turning city streets into ovens. Yet, in 2025, the UK recorded its hottest summer ever. urban areas from Birmingham to London became heat traps. Hospitals reported surges in heat-related illnesses, and vulnerable residents suffered the most. Unlike Mediterranean cities designed with shade and siestas, UK urban centres were never built for extreme heat. The founders of these cities planned for fires in hearths, not air conditioning in homes. Today, urban planners scramble to retrofit shade, green spaces, and cooling infrastructure. It's a challenge rooted in climate change, a global problem that rewrites assumptions about even the UK's famously cool weather. 2. Dumfries and Galloway, Scotland, cut off by lost railways. In the southwest of Scotland, Dumfries and Galloway once thrived as a region of trade and agriculture. Its founders took advantage of fertile soil and coastal access, connecting their communities to the wider country by rail. What they never imagined was the blow of losing those lifelines. When the Dumfries-Stranraer line was axed during the beaching cuts of the 1960s, connectivity plummeted. Over the following decades, younger residents left for Glasgow, Edinburgh, and beyond. The region's population fell by more than 2% in the last decade alone. Today, campaigners fight to reopen the line, hoping to reverse depopulation and spark economic renewal. For the founders, railways symbolised modernity and progress. For today's residents, their absence symbolises isolation. The challenge is not the sea or heat, but the silence of platforms where trains no longer run. 1. Dudley, West Midlands, a market town fading. Dudley was once one of the jewels of the West Midlands, a proud market town at the heart of England's industrial boom. Its founders built marketplaces, churches, and civic buildings that echoed with prosperity. For generations, its high street thrived, lined with department stores and buzzing with shoppers. But in recent decades, Dudley's story has been one of decline. The rise of the Merryhill shopping centre siphoned away trade, and big names like Beatties, River Island, Argos, and W.H. Smith all departed. Vacancy rates soared, leaving behind a high street dominated by charity shops, takeaways, and bookmakers. The founders of Dudley could never have foreseen out-of-town shopping centres and online retail draining the life from their creation. For today's locals, the challenge is how to rekindle. From villages swallowed by the sea to cities overheated by climate change, the UK is full of places grappling with challenges their founders could never have foreseen. These stories remind us that no town's future is fixed. Adaptation, resilience, and community spirit may yet carry them through the storms ahead. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.